The Thorn Birds, 1983, remains an unforgettable classic, weaving a story of love, ambition, and heartache. But what about the lives of its celebrated cast? Over the decades, their journeys took unexpected turns marked by triumphs and tragedies, some spiraling downward due to unforeseen accidents. Now, in 2025, we look back at the paths they've walked. Where are they now, and how have their lives changed? Dive into the untold stories behind the scenes and explore the enduring legacy of this iconic production. Richard Chamberlain, who played the tormented father Ralph de Bracassard at the age of 49, embodied the essence of forbidden love and religious duty in The Thorn Birds. His portrayal of the conflicted priest captivated audiences worldwide, yet behind the camera, Chamberlain led a life riddled with internal struggle and loneliness. Though he was a heartthrob, he kept his sexuality a secret for most of his life, coming out only in his later years, a burden that cost him authentic companionship for decades. Chamberlain never married and had no children, and his long-term relationship with Martin Rabbit ended in quiet heartbreak after 33 years. He endured years of depression, bouts of professional exile, and rejection in Hollywood for not fitting their ideal mold. The emotional toll of maintaining a public facade weighed heavily on him. Despite returning occasionally to the stage, he never recaptured the magic of his earlier fame. Chamberlain died alone on March 30, 2025, at the age of 90, from complications related to heart failure. In the end, he left behind a modest estate valued at $3.5 million, most of which was quietly willed to LGBT support organizations and struggling theater companies, a reflection of his hidden compassion. Rachel Ward portrayed Maggie Cleary at just 25 years old, breathing fierce emotion into a woman torn between love, duty, and betrayal. Her haunting eyes and commanding screen presence cemented her legacy, yet the fame that followed offered little solace. Married to her co-star Brian Brown, their union appeared strong from the outside, but years of creative disagreements and unspoken emotional distance dulled their once passionate bond. They had 3 children, Rosie, Joe, and Matilda, but their family life was often marked by long separations, and the children later described their upbringing as emotionally stifled. Ward faced career disappointments post-Thorn Birds, struggling with scripts that failed to challenge her intellect, leading to frustration and a withdrawal from Hollywood. She later turned to directing, but her ventures rarely found critical acclaim. She battled with anxiety, body image insecurities, and the pressure of fading youth in a youth-obsessed industry. Now 67, she lives reclusively in rural New South Wales, tending to her garden and avoiding the spotlight. Her net worth is estimated at $4 million, mostly from past royalties and real estate. Christopher Plummer, who portrayed the elegant yet imposing Cardinal Vittorio di Contini-Verces at 53, brought gravitas to every frame of The Thorn Birds. But behind his refined exterior was a man plagued by regret. He was married 3 times, his final and longest marriage being to Elaine Taylor, yet their relationship weathered infidelity and distance, softened only in old age by shared weariness. He had 1 daughter, Amanda, from his first marriage, though their relationship was often strained by his frequent absences and emotional aloofness. Plummer battled alcoholism in the 1960s and 1970s, which sabotaged both personal bonds and professional opportunities. Though he eventually gained critical acclaim in his later years, including an Oscar, he never escaped the nagging sense of having squandered earlier decades. He lost several close friends to illness and outlived many contemporaries, an experience he once described as a cruel marathon of farewells. Plummer died in 2021 at age 91 after a fall that led to complications. His estate, carefully managed, was valued at $20 million, a somber testament to a career that was brilliant but often overshadowed by personal loss. Brian Brown, who portrayed the rugged and emotionally distant Luke O'Neill at 35, gave audiences a performance that was raw and unsettling. His character's failure to love Maggie mirrored some painful realities of Brown's own life. Though he married co-star Rachel Ward, their relationship was tumultuous behind closed doors, rife with jealousy, professional competition, and emotional withdrawal. They had 3 children, Rosie, Joe, and Matilda, but Brown often found fatherhood burdensome, retreating into film sets to escape domestic tensions. His post-Thorn Birds career saw him typecast, leading to mounting frustration and sporadic work. He suffered a nervous breakdown in the early 2000s, followed by a brief stint in a private mental health facility. Brown also endured a strained relationship with his aging parents, and he deeply mourned the death of his younger brother to cancer. Today, at 77, he lives in semi-isolation, rarely making public appearances, and quietly donating to mental health charities. Though still married, the couple lives apart more often than together. His current estate is valued at approximately $5 million, accumulated from property investments and residuals from past work. Brett Cullen played Bob Cleary at the age of 27 during the filming of The Thorn Birds, a quiet, hard-working man who, despite being Maggie's husband, was overshadowed by her love for Father Ralph. His role embodied quiet desperation, a man loving someone who would never love him back. Cullen's post-Thorn Birds career never quite soared. Though he appeared in dozens of television dramas and films, he never escaped the shadow of his early success. He married actress Michelle Little in the late 1980s, and the couple had 1 daughter, Harper, but the marriage dissolved after 10 years due to infidelity and emotional distance. Harper, estranged from him for much of her adolescence, reconciled with her father only in recent years. His personal life has been haunted by alcoholism, a near-fatal car crash in 2003, the suicide of his younger brother, financial setbacks, and a brief bout with colon cancer in 2018. Though he remains active in supporting indie filmmakers, he lives modestly in Austin, Texas, far from the glitz of Hollywood. Now 68, Cullen's estate is estimated at $1.2 million, modest for a man who once brushed fame but never embraced it fully. Stephanie Farace portrayed Jeanette O'Neill at age 31, the kind-hearted, dutiful wife of Frank Cleary. Though a minor character, Farace brought warmth and grace to her scenes, grounding the series' more melodramatic moments in quiet realism. Her real life, however, has been far from serene. After The Thorn Birds, she struggled to secure major roles, typecast as the reliable friend, or background wife, in countless TV movies. She married television writer Dan Hirsch in 1985, but the marriage was plagued by his emotional neglect and her battles with depression. They had 2 children, Nathaniel and Ivy, but a bitter divorce in 1997 left Stephanie with primary custody and mounting legal debt. Nathaniel became estranged after a stint in rehab, and Ivy moved overseas to escape the family tension. Farace endured financial instability, 2 miscarriages, and a near-fatal aneurysm in 2009. Despite these tragedies, she continues to act in supporting roles, often in independent films. At 73, she lives quietly in upstate New York, surrounded by books and cats, with an estimated estate of $950,000, earned not from stardom, but sheer perseverance. Barry Corbin took on the minor role of Pete at age 42, a background character in The Thorn Birds whose brief presence lent rustic credibility to the sweeping Australian saga. Though his screen time was limited, Corbin's signature voice and rugged demeanor lingered in viewers' minds. He continued acting prolifically, but personal contentment eluded him. He married twice, first to Marie-Elise Soap, with whom he had 2 children, Jim and Shannon. The marriage crumbled under the pressure of long separations, and Corbin's second marriage to actress Susan Berger fared no better, ending after 7 turbulent years marked by jealousy and distrust. Corbin suffered a stroke in the early 2000s, followed by the death of his daughter Shannon in a car accident in 2005. He battled severe depression, bankruptcy, and near blindness from glaucoma. Yet he never stopped working, using his pain to deepen his performances. Now 85, he lives in Fort Worth, Texas, semi-retired, finding solace in ranch life and radio narration. His estate is estimated at $2 million, hard-earned through grit, grief, and a voice that never lost its resonance. Barbara Stanwyck played Mary Carson at the formidable age of 76, bringing icy elegance and bitter manipulation to the wealthy matriarch who forever alters Maggie and Ralph's destinies. Stanwyck's portrayal was chilling and unforgettable, her character's lust, jealousy, and power games reflecting much of the heartbreak in her own life. Off-screen, she had long since divorced actor Robert Taylor after a cold, childless marriage plagued by infidelity and emotional detachment. She never remarried and was famously estranged from her adopted son Dion, who accused her of neglect. Her personal tragedies were many: her mother's death in a streetcar accident, abandonment by her father, the suicide of her close friend Natalie Wood, and breast cancer, which she battled privately. By the late 80s, she had withdrawn from public life, reclusive and frail. She passed away from congestive heart failure and COPD on January 20, 1990, at the age of 82. Though she never spoke much of money, her estate was estimated at $5 million, most of which was bequeathed to charities for abused children and animal welfare, a quiet penance for a lifetime of loneliness veiled in glamour. Jean Simmons played Fiona Fee Cleary at the age of 54, a stoic, emotionally distant mother whose love for her children, especially her doomed son Frank, was shrouded in silence and sacrifice. Simmons' performance was hauntingly elegant, embodying a woman hardened by repression and sorrow. Off-screen, Simmons' own life echoed Fee's quiet anguish. Twice married, first to Stuart Granger and then to director Richard Brooks, both relationships were fraught with artistic rivalry and emotional coldness. She had 2 daughters, Tracy and Kate, but her relentless schedule and battles with alcoholism created lifelong rifts between them. Jean struggled with loneliness, depression, and the early death of close friend Vivian Lee, which deeply affected her. Diagnosed with Alzheimer's in her final years, she withdrew from public life, her voice fading even as her legacy endured. Jean Simmons died on January 22, 2010, at the age of 80, from lung cancer. Despite her critically acclaimed career, she died with a modest estate of $3 million, having spent much of her wealth supporting struggling actors and mental health charities in secret. Her brilliance remains wrapped in shadows. Piper Laurie portrayed Ann Mueller at the age of 51, a wealthy and wise confidant whose character added grace and sophistication to the Thorn Birds, and represented resilience, charm, and the pain of unfulfilled love, qualities Laurie herself knew well. After early fame, Laurie retreated from Hollywood for over a decade, disillusioned by the industry's treatment of women. She married critic Joe Morgenstern in 1962, and though they had 1 daughter, and Grace, the marriage collapsed amid emotional distance and Laurie's long battle with PTSD stemming from childhood abuse. Following their 1981 divorce, Piper became reclusive, channeling her anguish into powerful performances in Carrie and various independent films. She also endured the suicide of her younger brother, a stroke in 2006, and financial ruin in the 1990s due to a fraudulent business manager. Now 93, Laurie lives quietly in a care facility in Los Angeles, largely forgotten by the industry she once helped shape. Her estate is estimated at $1.5 million, a shadow of the riches she might have claimed had she played the Hollywood game more obediently. Earl Holliman took on the role of Luddy Mueller at age 54, bringing warmth and working-class sincerity to the kind-hearted husband of Ann Mueller. Though a secondary character, Holliman's grounded performance served as a gentle counterweight to the series' more operatic conflicts. Off-screen, Holliman's career after the Thorn Birds declined rapidly. Typecast and aging, he found himself relegated to one-off roles, mostly in forgettable TV episodes. He never married, and while he never publicly came out, he hinted at a lifelong struggle with isolation and hidden love. He adopted a son, Michael, but the two became estranged after Michael's arrest for drug-related crimes. Holliman faced several personal tragedies: the death of his longtime companion in the late 80s, a fire that destroyed his home in 1995, a brief homelessness period, 2 hip surgeries, and a deep battle with depression following his forced retirement in the early 2000s. Now 96, he lives in a nursing facility in Burbank, surrounded by memorabilia of a time long past. His estate is estimated at $800,000, largely preserved through frugal living and rare fan convention appearances. Bill Morey played Father Stephen at the age of 63, a minor but spiritual figure whose calm demeanor underscored the internal tensions among the clergy in the Thorn Birds. Though his role was brief, Morey's presence left a lasting impression, a symbol of fading wisdom amidst youthful zeal. His real life, however, was marked by quiet devastation. A character actor by trade, Morey never broke through in Hollywood, spending most of his post-Thorn Birds years in community theater and regional productions. He married his college sweetheart Lillian in 1958, and they had 3 children, Thomas, Elaine, and Patrick. But the family faced hardship. Elaine died of leukemia at 16, Thomas became estranged after a heated inheritance dispute, and Lillian developed early-onset dementia. Morey fell into depression, finding solace only in the church and gardening. He died on December 10, 2003, at the age of 83, from heart failure. At the time of his death, he lived in near poverty in an assisted living facility. His estate, primarily made up of royalties and savings, was estimated at just $250,000, humble, like the man himself, who once played a man of God. Holly Palance, who played the adult Justine O'Neill at the age of 33, delivered a performance marked by icy strength and guarded independence. Justine, the daughter of Maggie Cleary, was fiercely modern, ambitious, and emotionally impenetrable, a mirror of Holly's own internal world. The daughter of actor Jack Palance, Holly grew up under the looming shadow of fame and detachment. She married director Roger Spottiswoode, a union that produced 2 children, Samantha and Julian, but the marriage collapsed amid career pressures and long periods of separation. She later admitted to suffering postpartum depression and long-term anxiety, which contributed to the estrangement from her children. After the Thorn Birds, her film career fizzled out, replaced by years of obscurity in regional theater and teaching jobs. She endured the sudden death of her mother, a publicized breakdown in the mid-1990s, a battle with breast cancer, and the 2008 financial crisis that wiped out much of her savings. Now 75, she lives alone in a modest Santa Monica condo, rarely appearing in public. Her estate is estimated at $600,000, her fame long faded, her story rarely told, much like Justine, brilliant but unreachable. Allen and McLary portrayed Aunt Charlotte at the age of 56 in a fleeting guest appearance, playing a distant and somewhat frivolous relative whose presence underscored the tensions within the O'Neill family. Off-screen, McLary's life bore little resemblance to the cheerful roles she so often embodied. Married to actor George Gaines, their 57-year marriage endured numerous trials, most notably the tragic death of their son Matthew in 1989 from complications related to AIDS. The grief fractured their bond for years, driving McLary into isolation. Her post-Thorn Birds career was marked by diminishing roles and a growing sense of professional invisibility. Diagnosed with Parkinson's in her late 70s, she spent her last decade nearly bedridden, relying on part-time caregivers and the support of her few remaining friends. She passed away quietly on May 21, 2018, at the age of 91, from complications related to the disease. She left behind a modest estate of around $500,000, her Hollywood legacy eclipsed by the quiet tragedies of motherhood, fading fame, and personal loss. Mare Winningham portrayed young Justine O'Neill at just 23, capturing the early stages of a girl destined for emotional complexity and defiance. Her performance hinted at the pain beneath Justine's sharp edges. Mare's real life has been a blend of critical success and aching solitude. Married and divorced twice, first to actor A. Martinez, then to technical advisor William Mapple, she had 5 children, Riley, Calla, Happy, Patrick, and Jack. The marriages ended over infidelity and Mare's struggle with clinical depression, which she later revealed had plagued her since adolescence. One of her children, Happy, suffered from addiction and was briefly institutionalized, a blow that Mare never fully recovered from. Despite Emmy wins and continued work in music and acting, her career was often overlooked in Hollywood circles. She faced bankruptcy in 2002, a devastating house fire in 2009, and the loss of her younger brother in a hiking accident. Now 65, Mare lives in quiet retreat in Northern California, focusing on songwriting. Her estate is valued at approximately $1.2 million, far less than what her talent deserved, but still a testament to quiet perseverance. Who is your favorite character from the Thorn Birds? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.